Hello and welcome everyone to this month's office hours for app development. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. I'm joining from Vienna. It's afternoon for me. My name is David or David. I will be guiding you through most of the content that we have for you today. With me on the call is my colleague Dani.
Hi from Barcelona.
Good to have you here, Dani. And in the background, we have another person that you can't see. Carrie is helping us with the streaming and the setup of everything. All right. This session is gonna be recorded and available on YouTube afterwards. So no need to make screenshots or anything like that. You can view all of that afterwards as well. If you have any questions related to app development in general or the content we're showing today specifically, feel free to put it in the chat box on whichever platform you're watching this right now. We will see all those questions arrive in our backend, so to say, and we will try our best to cover them throughout the session. Yeah, don't hold back. We are happy to receive your questions. Good. What can you expect today? A couple different updates. We are showing everything that is new or updated since our last office hours in May. A couple different things. We have new custom page titles for apps that are now possible. We have a new page layout component, which is a replacement for the page component. There's a new guide around accessibility, an important topic. Also an update about lazy loading and code optimization and performance of Dynatrace custom apps in general. We'll share a quick info about the timeframe selector, something you can easily inherit from Strato. A new XY chart, which is in addition to existing charts. We'll let you know about the newsletter and have two highlights from the community forum. If anything of this looks especially interesting for you, let us know in the chat. Maybe we can dive a little bit deeper either today or in the next session. If nothing of this makes sense to you yet, because you're super new to Dynatrace Apps still, maybe you're just starting out or did not even try it out, but still are here. In the end, in the further resources, we'll have a link that will help you get started. Maybe stick around until then, and you'll get an idea about what Dynatrace custom apps are about. All right. Good. What is new and what was newly released since May? The first topic is already custom page titles for your apps, as I mentioned before. This is now possible. It was not possible before. You can add a little use page title hook to your application, and then for each page in your custom app, have a custom page title. We will show the code for this hook on the next slide. Then the structure looks like on the code snippet here. You have a page title, then your app name, then your tenant ID, and then Dynatrace is the last part of the string that is always added. So what you can do if you have an app that is, for example, called Cost Explorer, now you have maybe a dedicated page in your app for a cost overview, you can explicitly name that. And now if people open your app in multiple tabs, they can distinguish, are they on the cost overview page? Are they on the cost breakdown page? Are they on the settings page? Or whatever. Currently, this is not so easy to distinguish. We have a whole guide for this, which also has this good to know call out. Only set page titles for apps that are really for pages that are really stable. So for an overlay or a modal that might not be open when you share that link, you should not set a page title. You can find all of that also in the documentation we have for this on the developer portal. You can find the link to that on every slide that we have where we're talking about documentation from the portal. You can infer it at the bottom of the slide. So in this case, go to the developer.dynatrace.com/develop, then guides, then navigation, then page title. You don't need to write this down. We will have all the links that we mentioned here in this fashion at the end of the session, so you can take those with you from one collected comment. Good. That is now possible. Custom page titles. Just to showcase it visually how it was before, you would only see my app, my app, my app on 3 different tabs, even though you might be on custom pages. And now with setting the page title, now that this is possible, you could have app name, page title for overview, maybe for services payment, if that is a specific area in your app, and maybe one for hosts, if that is a specific area. The code for this is super easy. You create a small hook. Here in this example, we simply use it. Use page title .typescript, and then you set the document title. Previously, that was not possible. Apps are hosted by the app shell and served within an iframe and so on. So simply setting document title there was not possible before. Now it is, and such a hook is a good way to set it in all of your pages. On the right side, you see then, for example, an overview page, and here we're using that hook. Use page title overview. The rest of the string, your tenant ID, your app name, and Dynatrace is automatically added.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see this feature finally live, because this was actually an idea that one of our users had, that it seems that he could not differentiate between different dashboards, because everything on the tab was dashboards app, dashboard app, dashboards app. So he was wondering if you could add in the dashboard tab the title of the dashboard, and it was not possible due to the app shell limitation. And now it is possible, so that dashboard team can implement it. And also later on, there were also many questions on users asking about this feature as well. Maybe we will see one of them later on. So yeah, I'm happy to see it finally live, and I think it's going to be super useful for you guys.
Yeah. Maybe worth noting, this capability is also new internally. So any apps you see that are coming from Dynatrace, so maybe not all apps have adopted this yet, but you will see it used more and more and more. And yeah, now available to us internally, but pretty much at the same time to you for your custom apps as well. One thing to be aware of: this hook it doesn't reset when you move away from the page. So if you're setting the page title on page A, you also need to set it on page B. Otherwise, page B still has the old page title. Yeah, but in the end, that's what you want anyway: a dedicated title per page. All right. That is hopefully pretty straightforward, and will make live working, in particular when you work with multiple tabs on Dynatrace, easier. Then another topic is page layout. I mentioned before, it's a successor kind of the page component. This is how you structure your page overall. Where do you have a main content? Do you have a sidebar? Do you have a details drawer that comes in from the right side? Page layout is new. There's a small migration to be done, which we'll show on the left on the next slide. Should be pretty easy. But it has a couple of benefits to do this upgrade. You can upgrade right now. You don't have to. Page still exists next to page layout, but eventually you probably want to upgrade. It has a couple of benefits. with page layout, you can define your main content and also your details bar anywhere in the app. You don't always have to wrap it within the main page layout component. So it's kind of been transported into the right place. That makes it a little bit easier to define a page that has a specific details bar. You can have those wrapped together in one file. Also, what's new and an improvement is that the state of your sidebars, for example, or a details bar is preserved. Those things are never unmounted. So if you open a details bar, fill out a form or so, or a search field, you close it and you open it again, you will still have that partially filled out form and don't have to start from scratch. Also, scroll positions, for example, are preserved through that. It has better support for responsiveness. Not everyone is always working on a super widescreen monitor. And it has a really cool new feature. Depending on the amount of content you have, either in your sidebar or also in your details bar that comes in from the right, it decides for you if it should split up the available space or make an overlay. So if it's easily possible to show both side by side, the main content and the details, it just comes in from the right side. The main gets a little bit less space to make space for the details. If the details need a lot of space, it will make an overlay and just lay over the main content. So in this way, it's a kind of unintrusive way to cover both cases. Not so much content coming in or a lot of content coming in from this side. Yes. Page layout, migration guide. Let's have a quick look how this looks. It's pretty straightforward. Essentially, it's mostly just a rename from page to page layout. However, what was previously called page.main is now page.content. What was called page.detailView is now called page layout.details. It is a manual migration. Sometimes we're able to provide automatic upgrades that run automatically when you upgrade to new Strato versions or to new DTF versions. In this case, you have to do it manually. A couple properties are also gone. For example, sidebar integrated controls. It's just the default now. You don't need to set it anymore. Cool. All right. Simple migration should make your life hopefully easier, in particular with providing those slots, your slot content for content and details wherever you see it belongs to in your code base. Good. Page layout. I think that's everything to say here. Again, you'll find the whole documentation about it, in this case on the design, components, layout, and page layout. Then a new, let's call it a guide, or kind of, it's called Foundation on the developer portal, but it's more like a introduction and guide how to make your Dynatrace custom apps accessible. So maybe let me first share a quick made up but still a story so you can relate to this a little bit more. Let's assume you have an on-call engineer who works with just a keyboard and a screen reader because they have maybe they can't use a mouse, maybe they are visually impaired somehow, and need to rely on those two tools to do their work. They get a call in the middle of the night, and they should use a teammate's custom app to triage some production problem. If you're not paying attention to accessibility in your application, what this engineer might face is a filter which is just an icon, just a button. The screen reader would just say button, and the screen reader would not know, okay, what is this button for? If the person taps with their keyboard, with the Alt tab through all the clickable things, it might be invisible what is currently selected. So again, kind of stuck. Maybe health of services is just indicated by a green and a red dot. If there's no explanation what is green and what is red, maybe the person can't even distinguish those two colors. Again, they are stuck. Paying attention to accessibility can help, in particular people with such impairments, but also others. If you see a green and a red button and it clearly also states as text, these are failed services, these are healthy services, and so on. Also in a stressful situation, also for people that can clearly distinguish red and green, it's helpful. Same if you can clearly see what have you selected by tabbing through your links. If that is visibly clear, it helps everyone. So yeah, this accessibility foundation page that we have lays out what we are targeting. We are targeting this. I have to look it up. It's called the Web Content Accessibility Guideline. There are essentially 3 levels of it: A, double A, and triple A. Double A is also required by law in many cases. We're targeting that one. Strato, the design library that we're using to build our Dynatrace apps, does most of it anyway for you already, but still, things like a form label, a button label, and so on. It makes sense to think about this. What is a good description? Set the correct area label and help everyone that's using your app.
Yeah. There's also helpful for colorblind people, but also for testing, because test runners can also use that accessibility extra context to be easier to identify the objects in the DOM and test everything.
True. Good point. So it helps you during development as well. What you might not have seen, but is related to this, we have on the developer portal, we have the documentation for all the different Strato components. So for example, for the data table and for the time series chart and so on. And there, most of those components, if not all of them, have a dedicated accessibility tab at the top, which again refers back to this foundational guide, but also gives you some pointers. Okay, what should you look out for in the data table, in the chart, and so on. So be sure to not miss that whenever you're on the Strato documentation pages. Cool. Something to improve your app upon if you think it's useful in your specific situation. All right, then once again, lazy loading. We shared this already in May in the last office hours session. Back then, it was just freshly kind of possible that DT app supports lazy loading in the first place. We had a small kind of quick start guide around it, explaining the major differences about route-based lazy loading, component-based lazy loading, and also dynamic imports. And by now, we have a more in-depth and more background guide. It's much longer, going a little bit more into do's and don'ts, some gotchas that you need to look out for. Yeah, if app performance is a need in your case, depends on your use case, obviously, but the quicker your app responds, the better. Make sure to also have a look at that extended guide. If you'd like to let us know if you're currently already using any lazy loading in your custom app, let us know in the chat, yes or not yet, or maybe never, maybe someone is against.
Seems someone is already using it.
Yeah, Uartin, not sure how to pronounce it. I hope that our guides were helpful to implement it. If you have not seen the new one, check it out. As said, it goes a little bit more in detail. Yes, you need a somewhat recent DT app version, version 1.9 specifically. Whenever you're doing optimizations like this, make sure you're not kind of overdoing it. There are core web vitals, largest contentful paint, which kind of shows you how quickly your page loads in general. There's interaction to next page, to next paint, which is kind of how responsive your app is, and cumulative layout shift, which is kind of how jumpy your page is, how much the content jumps around. If you're doing lazy loading in the wrong places, or if you're applying it wrong, you might hurt one of those metrics. If you lazy load something that is in screen, it should be in the above the fold in the main screen. When you open the app, it might be the wrong place to apply it. Yes, we're going into those details in the guide. If you've never seen lazy loading, just a quick example how you could lazy load a very heavy component. Let's say something that is just big in terms of file size, for example, and it's not immediately necessary when the page renders initially. You can import it with this lazy call from React Lazy. Wrap everything in a suspense component, provide a fallback that is there to define what should be displayed while this is not loaded. So in this simple case, we're just showing a progress bar. So you will see some loading indicators, so to say. And then once it's loaded, it's there. If that is not necessary on the very first load of the app, but maybe only a little bit later, you made the initial load faster, but still have it available by the time the user navigates to this place. All right, I'm using skeleton loading from a personal dashboard. If you are referring to the skeleton placeholder that would be an even better suspense fallback than progress bar. Skeleton is kind of this gray box that looks like content, but it isn't, just a couple of gray lines. You can supply that also in the needed dimensions that mimic the dimensions of the content that will be loaded in later. And in that way, you prevent content jumping around and so on if the placeholder has the right size already. Yes. You wanted to say something, Danny, or no?
No. It's nice to see people already implementing these features. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Cool. Exactly what I meant. Okay. Thanks. Yes, a couple of arguments or points that are made in the guide are as follows. You can not only split on routes, complete pages, but as mentioned before, single views also, only the details panel, only a modal, only just one heavy component or a library that you're loading. I've also kind of hinted at it already. Everything that's above the fold, so everything that's immediately visible, maybe avoid lazy loading because you want everything visible to be there on first load. Focus on the things that are not immediately visible. You can pair your suspense boundaries also with an error boundary to recover from a failed loading. And the guide also mentions a neat little trick. If you're loading a component that's making use of a Grail query in the background, so that the queries the Dynatrace database Grail, you can kick off the loading of that component and kick off the Grail query at the same time. So you can kind of expect that the Grail query has finished executing until the component loads, and both arrive at the same time and not after another. So that is a pretty neat, very Dynatrace specific trick. Most of the other things are React lazy loading best practices, but in the guide we show how to apply this in a Dynatrace custom app. Good. One thing to note: take care with the lazy loading first and foremost of your own components. The Strata components, in particular the bigger ones like a data table, for example, they already make use of lazy loading internally, so you can ignore those for the most cases. All right. Now, from something where you'd have to sit down, implement it, think about it, how to make use of it properly to improve your application. One little update that you just get for free because it's rolled out automatically with Strata Components package version 3.1 and above. Simply upgrade the package. You don't need to do any migrations or so. But what the cool thing is, the time frame selector. If you're doing a query, you can select, I want to do it over the past 30 minutes or last hour or so. And now it's remembering the last 10 time frames that the user selected. And this happens across all instances of that time frame selector. So think about a user trying to figure out some issue on their system. They are using a notebook for it and plugging together a couple of queries. And let's say there was exactly last week on Monday or so, and they have this specific time frame in their query. And then they go to your app and want to continue their investigation. If you're upgraded to 3.1, they will have that in the most recently used timeframes and can very smoothly continue their exploration without you having to do really anything about it or for it, just to upgrade. So yeah, pretty nice new user experience improvement. Then another new thing also coming from Strato is a new chart type called XY chart. We have, as you probably know, if you've been building any kind of Dynatrace custom app, we have a couple of ready-made charts. We have a time series chart, categorical bar chart, and many more. They cover the most important cases. Those are also the charts that you see within Dynatrace if you're clicking around the various apps that are there, or the ones that you can select. For example, within a notebook, if you're making a query, you can choose the visualization. And now, pretty new is this new XY chart. This is more low level and more composable than the existing charts. The point is, every time you have a chart that needs an X and the Y axis, maybe multiple ones, you can configure it much more to what you need, and can kind of come up with new types of charts based on this XY chart component. So, for example, this screenshot from the documentation shows something like a heat map. We have it. We have on the left side times, on the bottom amounts, and then an additional dimension that's shown through the coloring. You can do many different things with it that you could not easily do with the other charts. Check out the documentation. It has a couple of quite interesting examples. Yes, that is completely new. Check it out if you have, in particular, if you have a visualization case where current charts were not really matching. You might be able to piece together your custom implementation, so to say. Good. New chat tab. Then that was it for most of the content, I think. A quick info for you. If you're not aware, we have, in parallel to these office hours, a monthly newsletter. We call it Developer Newsletter. It's published on community.dynatrace.com. If you follow the navigation to platform and product news, the latest newsletter was issue number 36. And it has essentially pretty much the same content in a written form, just to keep you up to date continuously. If you go to this location, community.dynatrace.com, and then follow platform and product links, if you sign in, you can also subscribe to this. You will get an email notification every time a new update is out. We take care to mention the most important things. So if Dynatrace custom app development is important to you, that's a good source of knowledge. What's also on the community is a community forum where everyone can go and ask questions. We have a specific sub-forum dedicated to Dynatrace app development. One of the interesting questions was that the user wanted to set a page title for his different tabs of his app. we kind of spoiled that already. The question to you would be if you know if that is possible. If you paid attention before, you will know you can use this new use custom page title hook. And it is in fact possible now. That was the first topic that we covered. Also important to note here, the questions you put in there, the user needs, user pains, and so on, might shape what's put on the roadmap and what is actually implemented in the end. Obviously, not each and every wish can be fulfilled, but this is one example where it sure had an influence that people were asking for this on the forum publicly.
Yes, good. Please. We love to hear your ideas, and I'm really happy to see ideas like this finally implemented. So don't stop with your suggestions to improve the current platform, since we are reading all the ideas.
Exactly. It's not only about ideas, though. Sometimes also things simply don't quite work out, and you don't know why. So there was one user that had a custom app that had an app function, and it was working well when they tested it locally. The app function could be called, but then they wanted to call this app function from Notebook. This is something you can do if you have an app function that maybe connects to some external status page or so and pulls in the current status of something. You could display it on that notebook. So this will be an example use case. So it worked for them locally, but not when calling it from a notebook. Does anyone have any ideas or guesses what could have caused this error to appear? Execution crashed, error 540. Do you have any guess, Dani? I'm not sure if you know the answer in this specific case.
Yeah, but it's hard to guess.
It's hard to guess. Turns out it was not a silly mistake. I think the error code or the error message is really not super helpful. But it turns out the app was simply not deployed. Notebooks runs on the Dynatrace tenant. It cannot connect to what you have running locally. That's why when testing it locally, it worked. But then obviously when the tenant kind of wanted to reach out into your local app. It did not work. The point is, person was stuck, got some things to try out. Another user also chimed in and made them aware of specific permissions that are necessary for app functions. They double checked it and so on. In the end, the user got in touch with support, and they could debug it directly because it was not so clear from the outside what the issue is. Point being, if you're stuck and really don't know how to progress with your problem, feel free to post your question there. Make it easy for us to help you, provide context and so on, explain your situation, what have you tried, what do you think it is, what did not work, and so on. And in that way we could support you. Yes, community.dynatrace.com, developer forum, if you're stuck like in this case. All right, before we end, a couple of resources I wanted to share. In general, everything regarding documentation about Dynatrace apps, Dynatrace custom apps, is on developer.dynatrace.com. If you are super new to Dynatrace custom apps, go to that page, then go to Quick Start and your first app in 5 minutes. You'll have an idea about what it is. There's also a tutorial, which is a little bit more in detail, explains more in depth how everything works. We have the developer Q&A forum, as mentioned, the community. We have the developer newsletter, as mentioned, and we have a next office hours session scheduled in 2 months on September 8th. If you have a specific topic that you would be interested in for us to cover next time, please feel free to put it in the chat. We might be able to consider it, have a couple slides on a specific topic. So
yes, the same of one of the previous session was fully focused on AI engineering an app. We are open to any new topics to cover on the office hours.
Exactly. Let us know. Either now or also later on the recording. I see from the existing questions. Mr. Uerkin or Mrs. I'm not sure. Planning to apply for the June JavaScript and TypeScript role in Linz at Dynatrace, I assume. So good luck. I can't influence what's the outcome there, but wishing you all the best for that process.
Yeah, good luck. Also, thank you for all the comments to everyone that answered questions in the chat.
Do we have here something? No? Okay. If there are no specific wishes, we will simply continue sharing what we think is share-worthy and hopefully useful to everyone. Yes, I think with that, we can say thank you for joining. See you next time, either in the office hours online or on the forum, maybe with your questions.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.